Hey everyone, welcome back to Dev Parkour. In this video, we're actually going to dive straight into code. I apologize for both the audio quality and the video quality of at least this segment of the video. The screen capture part will be unchanged, but my house is pretty much in boxes right now, so there isn't a lot to prevent echoing. So I do apologize for that, but that's what happens when you're moving. So let's get into some code. And let's actually switch over to that. And then I'm going to pull up Glassminnow, which if you haven't been following the channel, Glassminnow is the PHP app that I've been taking from legacy PHP app kind of into modern cloud native, secure, scalable app territory. And one of the things that has really been irking me since I first started picking up Glassminnow again was that there were a lot of configuration options that were basically hard-coded. So basically it doesn't really matter how I'm doing it. This is specific to the MVC framework that I'm using here. But the idea that I call a configure method and then specifically this chunk here, and well, these chunks here, those really kind of bug me. At the time, it made sense to implement all this stuff this way, but it's not really scalable, and it really requires, well, as you can see, it's code, so it requires a developer to come in and make changes as as changes need to happen. So what I really want to do is have this come from a database table. And before we actually do that, let me talk a little bit philosophically about why this is probably a good thing to do. One, obviously I mentioned that with having all this configuration in code means that a developer needs to make changes to it, whereas if it's in a database somewhere, and you expose a UI on top of it, you can actually enable, admins of the site to make changes to it. The other aspect is that it's potentially a little bit more scalable, performant, I would say. And eventually, I'm not sure if we'll get to it in this video, but eventually at least, I don't want all of this stuff to get populated on every single request. So this startup.php, this happens every single request. Now, this is not too big of an issue right now because these are just hard-coded arrays. The performance impact on every request is not too huge. However, as soon as we're going to a database for all this information, that starts to change, right? We don't want to be making a database call every single time just to get a list of salespeople, to get a list of dashboards. Realistically, we want to we really only care about your particular dashboard, whoever the currently logged in user is. Similarly, let's actually just remove this piece of code and stick it down at the bottom here so that we can look at everything all together. And let's actually start by just deleting all of this and making some comments for ourselves. So this is a list of usernames. This is a map of, it looks like queues to email addresses. And you know what? Let's actually defer this one to later because those aren't actually usernames. Those are queues. This is a map of username to dashboard. And what is a dashboard? I'm kind of curious what that is. We'll actually do some digging into this code to see what's actually going on here. And then here, this is a map of, so it looks like user ID to, accidentally hit enter there, username, display name, and hidden. All right, now let's get rid of all of this other stuff. All right, so we've got these three pieces that we need to make some changes to. Now, one thing that I noticed right off the bat when I was planning for this video is that we have dashboards and salespeople. And I feel like both of these could be combined into something like a profile. So that's probably the direction that we're going to go. So we'll have a profile. And in order for a profile to work, we would need the user ID that it's tied to. We don't need the username because that's part of the user row. So let's just say, what do I say, username. Display name makes sense to have as part of a profile. And now hidden, that's not really part of a profile, right? Because if we're trying to get a list of salespeople, we need to think about where this would get set from, or who would do the activation of new salespeople, right? So you might create a user account, but then somewhere in an admin backend, you would want to say this person is a salesperson, right? Something like that. So it might actually be okay to have some sort of flag here. I can't spell. There we go. Is salesperson or something like that in the profile table. But then we'd have to think about where we're going to edit it. I think for now, it's probably okay to put it in the profile table. And we can always evolve it, right? We're creating this table. It doesn't really make sense to make a whole new table just for one field, just for are they a salesperson, are they not a salesperson, that sort of thing. So let's just put it in the profile table for now. And then you want dashboard, right? And this was a string, right? This was a bit. So this would actually be, we'll call it varchar. 32 is probably sufficient, but let's go with 255. This one, we'll go with varchar 255. This one we're not putting in there. And user ID, I think this is going to be integer. We'll have to check the user table. So I think that's what we want to create. Now, before we go any further, let's figure out what this dashboard is used for. And let's see if there's an easy way to figure out what options there are for this dashboards array. So let's just pull up Visual Studio Code search, and looks like this is where we're using it. Dashboard controller, index, redirects to appropriate dashboard. If we have configuration for the dashboards, and if the current user has a record in that dashboards array, then redirect to /dashboard/ their chosen dashboard. That's cool. What other dashboards are available here? Okay, we've got sales, design, operations, support, software dev, business intelligence. Okay. I think we can handle that. Yeah, okay. So we basically have this list. So yeah, we can deal with this. This is not an issue. Okay. So for now we'll just do a hard-coded list. Yeah. Oh, and then admin. Okay. So, okay. All right. Let's get this going. Let's start by building a database table. And actually, what I'm going to do is because I have a set of migrations for this this app, we'll just create a new file here. We'll call it 2021. Let's see, I'm recording this on November 7th. So 11/7. All right. And now we want to basically create this table structure. So create table. Pretty sure all of the tables in Glassminnow are lowercase. So let's just verify that. Yeah, all lowercase. So just to be consistent, we'll call it, let's call it user profile. And then we need our columns. Technically, this is a foreign key, but I'm not going to define it as such quite yet. All right, now let's go ahead and run this. Let's try that again. All right, and there we go. We have our table. User profile. That should actually be plural, right? All right, so now it's called user profiles. Let's fix that over here. There we go. Okay, so now we have our database table. Now, in order to use that, we need to create a model for it. So that would be in app models, right? New file. This would be user profile. PHP. Now, in order to create this, we need to do that sort of thing on a class. So class user profile extends active record model. All right. I like to put an empty comment there just so that I maintain my indentation, but you don't have to. Now, the one downside to the way all of this is set up, which I might try to fix in a future version of this framework, is I can't actually extend the user entity definition, the user model definition, to give it this relationship with user to user profile. But that's actually okay, because how we're probably going to use this is, let's go back to that dashboard controller here. What we'll do is we'll try to, actually, we can go above here. We don't need to get the config. We can just do user profile, find user ID, and then we need to get the current user. Might just be ID. Let's start with user ID. I don't remember, and then go from there. So profile equals user profile, and then the logic here becomes, let's see, it's basically if profile and profile dashboard is not equal empty string. That'll handle the null case as well. Then we'll basically do this return redirect, except instead of this mess, it'll be profile dashboard. And I actually did it wrong up here. This is an object, so dashboard. Yeah, okay. That's okay. Obviously, this is something to watch out for because this could potentially become a cross-site scripting vulnerability if we allow a way to edit the dashboard setting, the dashboard preference, I suppose, from the web UI, and someone saves something totally nasty and totally malicious, then this will get appended to the URL directly, and that's bad. Probably what we'd want to do is actually check to make sure that this setting exists in a predefined list, and then only then use it. That's something we'll come back and do off camera. So now the fallback, like before, is just redirect to admin. So let's see what we get. Here we go. So if I go to dashboard, it should redirect me to admin, right? Now, if I find my user ID, which is 1, and create myself a user profile, we'll give myself a display name as well. Yes, I'm a salesperson, and my dashboard should be sales. All right. Now, if we go back to dashboard, it should bring me to the sales dashboard. Maybe. It looks like something is dying somewhere. That's cool. We found ourselves a cross-site scripting vulnerability. So this dashboard just took a while to load. Legitimately, that's why. So cool. So here's a bunch of stuff that's on a to-do list for the sales team to handle. So good to know. So yeah, let's see what else. Another thing that configuration stuff set was, well, actually, let's first make sure that all of the other dashboards things are taken care of. So what is this? Index.php. Interesting. It looks like you get different settings on your homepage depending on what your default dashboard is. So let's pull this same code and use it in the same spot. So sorry, not the same spot. Use it in this spot over here. So just to be consistent, we'll do the same sort of thing here that we're doing for the configuration variable and set profile right there. Now, if this same logic that we were using on the other page, then the dashboard equals profile dashboard. Okay, cool. Let's get rid of this if. All right. And now that should be in place too. And you can see now the only place that dashboard's key is being used is right here, and we can just get rid of that. That's cool. We can get rid of this comment too because that's in the database. All right, now let's see where this salespeople key is being used. Obviously in startup.php. Customer controller. It looks like we can fix this here. So com created by is the user ID. So that's actually perfect. So if we want to get the salesperson profile, we'll go user profile, find by user ID, and it's going to be com created by, and we'll actually add a little bit of error checking here. So we'll create a variable called display name, and basically what we'll do is populate it with display name equals salesperson profile display name. Add a bit of error checking here. Salesperson profile and salesperson profile display name does not equal empty string. Then we'll use the salesperson profile display name. Otherwise, we should use, let's just do that for now with some reasonable fallback. Right, okay, so taking care of that. Yeah, and of course that goes away from this list. Let's save our files as we go. You know what, while we're here, let's get rid of that key because that key's going away. Right. Okay, so event controller is the next spot. Similar sort of thing. Let's just copy and paste this code. A reminder also to myself, anytime you see copying and pasting, that's probably a good sign that you should do some refactoring. So for instance, it might make sense to create like a helper method that creates the sales display name, or salesperson display name, pass in a user ID. In this case, it's going to come from there, just like here. So now we can get rid of this and say display name. All right, that should all be okay. And another spot where here we can literally just copy and paste. So there we go. Com created by, and then we change this to display name. We should be good. All right, we're just chugging through these. This one's going to be a little bit trickier just because we're basically in the middle of a template. So we actually need to switch into PHP mode, set some variables, and that's where our user ID is coming from. And now here, it's just display name. And a similar sort of thing on the text side. So this is an email. We just changed it for the HTML version. Now let's change it for the text version. All right. Now what is this? This is something that looks new. Okay. Yeah, okay, so here is where we actually create that list. So this is a new event, right? So let's actually pull that up in a browser. So new order. I think that's on the commission tab. Yeah, here we go. Undefined array key salespeople. That's exactly where we're looking. Yeah, and then array filter obviously doesn't work because there's no array to operate on. So let's fix that. It's not going to come from config salespeople anymore. It's going to come from I'm just going to stick it right here. This is probably not the best place for it, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to dump it right here. We'll do user profile, find by is what is find all by is salesperson true. Salespeople, and I think that should do it. Salespeople. Now value func. Given the value, return. This is actually going to be an object, not an associative array, so we need to update the syntax there. And that should do it. Watch it probably not work. Did I save? That's a good question. Oh, no, it did work. Okay, there we go. Salespeople, Brian Parks. And now, that's it. We're all done. Awesome. I love it when things work the first time. Okay. Now, similarly on the view side of the event, so this is the show page, we need to get, yeah, okay. So the display name for the salesperson, and here we don't have to worry about is salesperson, because even if someone's no longer a salesperson, we still would want to show their display name. So let's grab this guy. This is how we're going to do this. So PHP. We need to get the salesperson profile, and this.model.salesperson is what we're using for the user ID. Switch out of PHP mode there because we're switching back to HTML mode. And then what we'll do here is this will be salesperson profile and salesperson profile display name does not equal empty string. If we have a display name, then we'll go with salesperson profile display name. This is the exact same logic we've been doing in all the other places. Otherwise, we'll default to sales. Okay. Realistically, we probably want to show the username of the salesperson, but you know, we'll deal with that a little bit later. Okay, let's save that. We already did, and looks like we've got two more places. So here's another spot that's like on the new page. So let's just, and actually here it looks like you can potentially assign to a salesperson who's no longer a salesperson anymore. That's kind of an issue. So let's actually use the same logic here. So we actually kind of get it right. All right, so we'll do that. Go indent that a little bit to line it up with everything else. This is going to be just salespeople, like we have right here. Again, this is now an object, so change the syntax there. Filter, turn key is greater than 0. What is key? Not really sure that we need this anymore. Let's comment it out, and we might come back to it. We might need that. All right, now finally, did we save that? Yes, we did. Finally, what is this? New request. So this was a sign request. This is new request. I think this should be this, basically the same thing. All right, so that should be good enough for now, at least. So that takes care of that salespeople key. Let's those others. All right, now subscribed users is the last one. Okay, that's there. Okay, this is what is this? This is a production. Okay, that's cool. And then it looks like we have a script that just iterates through the subscribed users and sends people their current requests. This is actually something we didn't include in the profile, but it probably belongs there. Yeah, okay. So something to add for the future is just grab from the profile a list of subscribed users. So probably what we'd want to do is let's put this in a variable called subscribed users, and I'll actually wire up the database backend for this off camera. So subscribed users would be user profiles. User profile dot find all by is subscribed. I can type is subscribed true, and then this would actually be a user ID now. Well, it'd be user profile, right? And find, so it'd just be straight up find by the key, which would be user profile user ID. That should be it. All right. That takes care of that. Takes care of that too. All right, Q notify. Yeah. All right. So that's it. That's it. All done. I'm gonna commit this, make a couple changes, and then this will be up and running. So one database table, I was able to eliminate all of those weird kind of based on in-code configuration kind of janky implementations there. So hopefully you got something out of this video. that's, the configuration in code is not uncommon especially for an application that evolved over time like this one did. But it is something that is not scalable, and eventually it's going to bite you. It is truly technical debt. So it's good to, especially when you're taking time like I am with this application, to intentionally bring it into the future, bring it into the present, and then prepare it for the future. It is a good idea to look at hotspots like that and try to put as much as you can in, the right places for configuration to be. Depending on your application, maybe the database is it, or maybe something like a NoSQL store. There's actually another application that I built for this same company where I put the configuration in DynamoDB, so that I could change it through that UI. It would periodically poll for DynamoDB to get its configuration. And there were some of these things in the DynamoDB configuration, and that really worked for that sort of setting. Had the kind of separation of, here's how the application works. Then there's a separate way to actually configure the nitty gritty of the application. So that was kind of cool, and that worked for that scenario. But I really think for this application, having that configuration in the database is the right place to be. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already just subscribed. Click that notification bell as well. And leave a comment down below if you have thoughts, questions, anything like that. With that, I'm going to sign off. Have a great day, evening, whenever you're watching this, and I will see you in the next one.